The game, Magnus Carlsen was missing from the building. He barely came a few moments before the gong sounded and before first moves, and somehow it turns out he's figured out exactly how to place his pieces in pawns and get that counterplay going. David, in this one, the battery that you were mentioning in Hans's game has already been set up by Magnus, making sure that the white king doesn't get to safety on the right side of the board, because that will be met by checkmate in one. Let's just have that on the board to show it, because we love showing those checkmates, and that just makes life harder for Hikaru Nakamura, that the rook is still stuck in the corner, your king still stuck in the center of the board. It's a beautiful start for the black pieces, but the question, how does Magnus make progress? Will it be the castle? Will we see a rook lift joining in the attack? And I think that's a really nice point to be made here as well. You know, Magnus does this so many times in freestyle chess. He doesn't bring the rook to the center of the game. He lifts it up and then only slides it over, especially when you have this D line open and a queen and a king lined up.
It's got to be a horrible feeling for Hikaru right now. The idea that, okay, I can't castle over to safety because of that threat of the, the checkmate there on the long diagonal, but as well, on the left side of the board, I've got all these minor pieces just hanging around, creating chaos and a traffic jam right in front of where my king is currently.
Yeah, it's unpleasant. And I like your move, Tanya. I think two most obvious moves to my eyes, yeah, bringing the rook up, and castling has got to be on the agenda soon. But no matter which one, I think it's always impossible to push this pawn forward. Just it looks like the most obvious move, just for some of the spectators wondering, because it is a double attack, but the black bishop just moves out the way, captures a knight, and when the dust settles, you can take a pawn for free, this time with a check. Magnus chooses to play your move. Nice, lifting the rook up the board. And the one move you want to play for Hikaru Nakamura is to trade bishops. You want to bring your bishop forward, block this long diagonal. You need to get castled sooner or later. But I'm guessing now that Magnus is either going to move his queen, allowing the bishops to come off, or he might even block with this pawn. Not the other one, because that would block the rook as well. But if he blocks with this pawn, yes, white can castle, but black is breaking out in the center very shortly, or maybe even establishing this pin that you mentioned. And this is scary. This is a bit scary for Hikaru's pieces. They're clumsy, they're in the firing line, and Magnus playing very, very ambitious chess. And level on the clock, so I'm going to say if Hikaru survives this next wave, this next half dozen moves, then he's back in the game. But for now, the world number one, Magnus Carlsen, slightly more favorable here. He's in control. I think we have to go to the other board. We said it was impossible to castle on the right side because of the black queen and bishop battery there, but the white king not safer on this flank. Magnus doing something that a lot of people are reluctant to do. Take a pawn on the edge of the board, but here the bishop cannot get trapped. You cannot push a pawn to cage it in because the black knight starts snacking on pawns. So we see a trade, and Hikaru hitting the black rook. The one thing not to do is to take the white knight. It looks like you're winning the bishop as well, but now the black king would get caught in the center of the board. So Magnus is going to move his rook away. We see a move. It is the best one, according to our computer, and Hikaru reacts immediately. He's trying to block up his king's flank, but Magnus's king is going to be safe, Tanya. And a pawn is a pawn, with a great bishop as well.
Yeah, that is a big pawn. Despite having those double pawns on the A line, just simply the files that are opened up, the pathway towards Hikaru's king, while Magnus's king super safe after that one move remaining to get the rook into the game. You'll have to time it a little bit, considering that the E7 pawn might be a little weak, so that's something that might be needing some calculation. But that's the thing, right? The story of these two players just goes so much into psychological warfare as well. When it comes to the Paris finals of the Grand Slam there, again, a similar storyline. Hikaru had a shot, did not take it. Magnus Carlsen wrapped up the match, was champion, did not even need tie breaks there. And then coming to this one, it would have been a complete... This is your textbook stuff. This is who you learn from Magnus Carlsen. The king also belongs on a light square.
Yeah, that's just great strategy in general. And Hikaru was trying to do the same, all pieces on dark squares, but it wasn't quite working. And the one piece on a light square, other than the queen now, this white rook might just be caught in the crossfire. You're going down a rook for bishop either way. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hikaru sacrifices his rook for that bishop. Nope, he just solidifies his other rook. So we will see Magnus go up on material. And converting, I'm going to say, shouldn't be too difficult. But then again, if the black bishop ever disappears, then the black king might become a bit weak. The white queen ready to crack, snack on some pawns.
The problem for Hikaru's bishop is just it's on...
To rush, he can use his rooks to, for example, attack the white queen. He can maybe bring the black queen to a better square before breaking through, taking this white rook off the board. But yeah, spoiled for choice here, Tanya.
And this is what we talk about, right? This modern rivalry. And I think this is a point you brought up earlier, David, as well, that this is world number one, number two, a clash that everyone's so excited about. But every time they've met over the board, it's been a Magnus show. Hikaru Nakamura really being on the back foot, hasn't won a big match since the 22 Speed Chess Championship against Magnus Carlsen. And they've played plenty of times. And the thing is, the more that happens, the more of a mental block.
But you can see he's crunching those numbers. A brief look at the clock.
Does he do it? Does he get materialistic in this position, or does he hang on to that stunning bishop?
Yeah, I probably would, but that's why I'm not sitting out there. Bishop takes rook. It does lose a pawn, I think, a bit later, just to put moves on the board while Magnus thinks. Bishop takes rook. Oh, okay, we don't need to. He first attacks the white queen, and I think that's a very good choice. When the white queen moves, it might be vulnerable to some tricks and tactics. It's going to be on a vulnerable square either way. And yeah, no point in rushing if you know that rook is not running away anytime soon. You can take it on the next move.
Well, you pointed out a weak pawn that Magnus would be left with, right, if the bishops were to get off the board in exchange for that rook. So Hikaru needs to find a square for the queen that remains connected. I mean, there are three that come to mind. You want to keep that attack, the centralized one, and the other two that you're highlighting right now. I think Hikaru is going to pick one of these.
Yeah, very logical move there. And I love what Magnus has done in terms of kind of biding his time, because now bishop takes rook. When a recapture happens, yes, the white queen's attacking a pawn, but the black rook can, if it really needs to, slide across and defend. A bit of a passive one. I don't think that's what Magnus wants to do, but at least he has that kind of resource if he needs later.
I'll tell you one thing that's not going to happen. The rook moving back to attack the queen going back, the rook moving forward, the yo-yo dance of the rook and the queen. That
no way, no how.
Happening.
No way, no how.
Magnus playing for the win. Sorry, David.
We've seen it before from Fabiano. Like, he's bailed out a couple of times.
But I think that's the thing. Is Magnus the kind of guy who bails out here?
No. Yeah. He's up on time as well. If it was kind of clocks reversed, maybe.
Yeah, I've seen Magnus in World Championship matches needing only a draw, having it and not bailing out from a position of strength.
Look at that heart rate, though. Magnus went up to like 75 for a second, and he's back down. Super calm. Hikaru, 130 heart rate. He's getting super nervous about this position. But I don't think he believes he's out of it, Hikaru. He's very resourceful.
You know, despite this being a fight for third place, I think Magnus is pretty motivated, especially with everything that's gone on since yesterday for him, right? He first sort of makes good of his work against the youngsters, this young golden generation of Indian chess. We're taking down Pragnananda and then Arjun Argaisi. And then who does he face? His longtime rival, Hikaru Nakamura. He said it after not qualifying for the quarterfinals. Freestyle chess in Vegas for him is about the love for chess. And I think that's the kind of moves that we're seeing him play out. This is Magnus Carlsen at his best since yesterday, but a little too late in the tournament.
A little bit too late for the top prize, but he has been absolutely on fire in the lower bracket, becoming that unstoppable force that we've known him to be. He's going to go for that rook move even before opting for the trades in the center of the board, protecting the pawn ahead of time.
Yeah, so classy. Like, superhuman self-control, I'm going to say. Like, 99.9% of us would see a rook.
For a bishop.
For a bishop, we take the rook. But that bishop is so dominant, and the white rook cannot move. Remember, if the white rook steps up the board, the black queen... Ooh, he does move it. The black queen sneaks in behind now, though.
Okay.
Ooh.
What's the idea here, though, for Hikaru? Just...
He's going to try and weather the storm, save his king, but this looks like a terrifying check, scary check. The very minimum Magnus can bag a pawn in the corner here.
And I've just been separated from all my defenders.
Mm-hmm.
And why give up a bishop for a rook when you can actually use your bishop to dominate the other rook? Look at Hikaru's rook on e3. No activation there. It's never coming out into the game. The bishop on e4 is far more important and powerful than any piece it could have picked up along the way. And Magnus going pawn hunting.
And now the integrity of the pawn chains has been threatened.
Oof. Looks like there might be some scary checks from behind. You are attacking with the queen, you are attacking with the bishop, but the black rook not doing too much right now. If you could pick that up and put it anywhere, then anywhere down in white's camp, it's just checkmate, it's over. So to get it in might need a bit of contortion a bit later.
You know, I almost walked into a blunder. Maybe actually it's not. I thought all the way to c8, but there were some checks that needed to be calculated. This, a much nicer square, puts it on the 6th rank, but where is it headed from here? Does he want to put it in front, self-pinning for mortality, a square made famous by Dingler in his World Championship match, where he put the rook on that square, won the World Championship? Is that the winning plan that Magnus Carlsen's going for?
Oh, I think it's a very strong plan. I don't really see any moves for Hikaru. I think that's the big issue. Like, no matter what Magnus did, even if he just waited, I do not see anything for the white rook to do. It's tied down defending its pawns. The white king clearly cannot move. The white bishop throws itself in the way, but that hangs a pawn. That hangs a very important pawn on the other side of the board. The black queen can now just pick off, and the black pawns just have been sitting there for so long, blocked, stunted, so close to promotion.
Yeah, you blunt one idea, but you open another for your opponent in the process.
And that's the thing, right? It's tricky to be on the defending side because the defenses are overloaded. You can stop one, but not everything on the board. And now what might have appeared as a liability, double pawns on the A line, are going to become Magnus's biggest asset.
There it is. Hikaru has no choice but to admit defeat here.